We want to welcome you today with us at the Family Worship Center in Placentia. And we're so glad to be able to join with you and to have our worship team, Corey and Leslie Skinner, with us. So we just pray God's blessing upon you today, and feel free to sing along with us as the courses and hymn is played. And may God bless you today.
I raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight for me. I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm.
1 Kings chapter 17, verses 1 to 7. And Elijah the Tishbite of the inhabitants of Gilead said to Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years except my word. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, Get away from here and turn eastward and hide by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan. And it will be that you shall drink from the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So he went back and did according to the word of the Lord, for he went and stayed by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening. And he drank from the brook, and it happened after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land.
So King Ahab and his wife Jezebel followed the Canaanite religion, which taught that, Baal, the storm god, as they called him, he controlled the rain, he controlled fertility. And so in order to basically put away with that belief and teach the nation that Baal was not in control, God, through the prophet Elijah, announced that there was going to be a drought, there was going to be no rain, until Elijah said there would be rain. And so that everybody would know that God was the one in control, not Baal or any other god. It was the God of Israel. So he told Elijah during this time to go and hide by the brook Kidron, which flowed into the Jordan Valley. And so the brook was a place of protection. It was a place where he would go. Ahab obviously would have blamed the drought on Elijah because he was partially responsible for it. He was the one who announced it. And so God told him to go and hide by this brook. God had appointed the famine to last for 3.5 years, and so it wouldn't be over until God said it would be over. The brook was also a place of provision, because now it wasn't there was no natural source of food at this brook, but yet God would provide for Elijah in a very miraculous way. The ravens, who were considered unclean under the law, so God would use the ravens to bring bread and meat to Elijah in the morning, and bread and meat to Elijah in the evening. So he would use these ravens to provide for Elijah, and of course he could drink the clean flowing water of the brook. It shows that God was able to provide for Elijah. Not only did God control the rain and the weather and everything, but he also could provide food for his servant. You think about it, Elijah couldn't do his usual work of preaching and prophesying. There wasn't much he could do by the brook, and so, which is why I believe the brook was also a place of prayer. What else could he do? There wasn't much he could do. He was there pretty much alone, camped out by this brook until God told him to move. So it was a good time to pray. And I believe that that's this pandemic we're in. Sometimes we feel like there's not much we can do, but I always say, when you feel like there's nothing you can do, there's always one thing you can do, and that's pray. And no matter where you are, you can always pray. The other thing about the brook was that it was not a place of permanence. It was a temporary thing. It was a temporary situation. Elijah wasn't going to live there permanently. It was only for a season. Elijah was only to live there for a season, and when the brook dried up, God told him to go live with a widow, which was a bit strange and unusual. I'm sure he wondered why God would tell him that. Usually widows were the most needy and poor people of all in the land, and yet God would provide for Elijah through this widow. But the thing we can say about this, this pandemic, is that it's only temporary. It's not a permanent thing, just like the brook Kidron was not a permanent place for Elijah. This pandemic, the situation we're in, the isolation and all of that, it's temporary. Things, they may never go back completely to normal, I guess, but they will go back to the point where you can visit family and friends, and you can hug people again. You won't have to stay 6 feet apart. All that stuff is temporary, and so we can take courage in that. It's a temporary situation, but you know what? Where we are, God can protect us. He can provide for us, and we can take advantage of the opportunity to spend time in prayer and commune with God and connect with Him. I like the old saying which says, "This too shall pass." And we can say that about this current pandemic and all that's happening. This too shall pass. It's not going to last forever. This whole world is temporary. This whole life that we're living is temporary. But what is eternal is God, our relationship with God. Everything will be all right if you have a relationship with God, if you have faith in Him. You can trust Him no matter... We don't know how long this is going to last, but it doesn't matter. God is in control, and you can trust in Him. God bless you.
I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by His nail-pierced hands than to be the king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus than man's applause. I'd rather be faithful to His dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. I'd rather be true to His holy name than to be the king of a vast domain and be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. He's fairer than the lilies of rarest bloom. He's sweeter than honey from out of the comb. He's all that my hungering spirit needs. I'd rather have Jesus and let Him lead than to be